Hello, welcome to the Service Learning presentation for Inver Hills Community College. My name is Katie Helcrow and I'm the Director of Service Learning for Inver Hills. I will be your host for this presentation. Oh, and if you were wondering, that's me on a trip to Montana last year. I did not know my husband was taking a picture right then. Okay, but back to service learning. So, to give you an overview, the National Commission on Service Learning defines service learning as, quote, a teaching and learning approach that integrates community service with academic study to enrich learning, teach civic responsibility, and strengthen communities. So, in other words, service learning is using the skills you're learning in your coursework, aka called academic study, to improve the community in some tangible way. Because they're closely related, sometimes service learning is confused with volunteerism or internships. But there are important differences. Although volunteerism meets the community need and gives participants practical experience, there's no link back into academic study or the classroom. And while internships provide a rigorous connection to academic study and/or the classroom and offer students real-world experience, their focus is not on meeting a community need. Service learning, on the other hand, combines community involvement, practical experience, and academic study. In order to count as a service learning experience, student work must be rigorously connected to course objectives, academic study, and meaningful work must be done for a nonprofit organization, public school, or government agency, which shows the practical experience and community involvement. Also, because they're meant to engage students in service and community, service learning cannot be done for pay. Because of service learning's distinctions from volunteerism, internships, and civic education, you get the best of all three worlds. Not only do you get to deepen your learning of course material and participate in a real-world application of what you're doing in the classroom, which, by the way, can go on your resume, you also will feel good about what you're doing to strengthen the community. In fact, that's part of Inver Hills' mission and vision. We're dedicated to the power and promise of education and want to strengthen communities. And we want to be an innovator in education, providing a vigorous intellectual environment that will enrich individual lives and support our diverse communities, whether they're local or global. Just as service learning can happen in a wide variety of locations, both local and global, like I mentioned before, there are many different ways that students can participate in service learning. When students do direct service, they're working directly with the people being served by the community and or affected by an issue. When students do indirect service, they are working to help the agency and the larger societal concern, but they're not necessarily working directly with the population or the people affected. When students do research for their service, they're performing a form of indirect service where research skills are used to assist the agency. And then lastly, when students do advocacy for their service, they're using another form of indirect service. This one promotes a certain cause on behalf of those affected by the issue. And oftentimes it will have a research component too. So, now that you've heard about each type of service, I'm going to give some examples of service learning experiences, and I'd like for you to guess which one is each. Here's the first. Okay, so in the picture, you see a blood drive, a picture of a blood drive. So a small group communication class chooses to work with Memorial Blood Centers for their group project. They decide that they could best help serve the agency by organizing a blood drive on campus. Group members plan, promote, and hold the blood drive in conjunction with Memorial Blood Centers, all while using, in a real-world setting, the effective small group communication strategies they've been learning in their course. This type of service benefits the agency, but students may not work directly with its clients. Yep, it's indirect. Although students themselves are not working with the people donating blood, they are organizing the event for Memorial Blood Center, so they are contributing to the capacity building in a capacity building way to the organization. Okay, here's number 2. A field experience in archaeology class works with the Dakota County Historical Society to document the site of a possible ghost town called Lewiston, just north of Northfield, Minnesota. Through this experience, students gain real-world experience in surveying, drawing maps, and documenting artifacts at an actual archaeological site. The Dakota County Historical Society benefits from their work, as all of the data they can collect they collect can be archived at the museum and added to a collection to be shared with the public. Okay, so what do you think? What type of service is this one? Yes, research. Good. Students are collecting data and doing documentation for research that can be passed on to the Dakota County Historical Society. Okay, here's number 3. A human services student might be a bridge to benefit screener at Egan Resource Center. In this role, students use a 5 to 10 minute screening tool to develop a preview for services for which the client might be eligible, like food stamps, tax benefits, free or reduced lunch for their children, etc. The student is gaining valuable experience working at a social services agency, which relates directly to his or her coursework, and the Egan Resource Center is getting extra assistance so they can serve and better serve more clients. So what type of service is this? Yes, direct. Students are working directly with clients to help them receive benefits. Okay, number 4. My guess is you probably know what this one is, but we'll do it anyway. Here it goes. A research and writing class instructor decides that housing and homelessness should be the theme for her class. Students discuss the issues with which people are faced in Minnesota, then research information surrounding causes and problems and possible solutions. After this research, students compose letters to state representatives to articulate their concerns and then invite the community to a forum where they present their findings. This reinforces both the research and writing components of the course, as students must use the research they've gained to construct a sound argument that appeals to 2 different audiences. So, what do you think? Which one is this? Yep, you guessed it. Because they're advocating with Habitat for Humanity to help change policies, their service is advocacy. And they're researching too. Sometimes a service experience can fit into more than one category. Okay, so now that you're an expert in types, think about your own service learning opportunity with the class that you're taking right now. What is your type? As we talked about before, keep in mind that some opportunities do have some crossover from one kind to another, so you might have elements of more than one type. So, we just talked about types, and now there are also 4 different benefit models. This describes not the type of service work students are doing, but how the service is provided. In a placement model, students serve at a community partner site throughout the semester. In a presentation model, students take the material they're learning in class and create presentations for different audiences in the community. This can be done as a presentation, a letter, or a newspaper article, or even as a YouTube video. The possibilities are really endless. It's whatever your creativity is there for. In the product model, service learners work alone or in groups to produce a tangible product for their agencies. And in the last model, the project model, students collaborate with a community member or members to devise and implement a project. Take a minute to decide which of the service learning experiences described above fit with which models of service. In which instance is the student serving at the agency and working with clients? Where are students presenting information to a specific group in the community? Which one shows students providing a product to a not-for-profit agency that increases the agency's capacity? And then which one shows students working on a project to benefit the community partner? I'll give you a second to think about it. Okay, nice work. In the Bridges to Benefit experience, students are working at an agency for a specific number of hours in order to serve the clients. For the service learning experience with homelessness, students are presenting to 2 audiences, once in the letters they write to government officials, and then again in the presentation they held for the community. The anthropology students provided Dakota County Historical Society with maps, artifacts, and other materials to add to their archive, so they provided the community partner with a product. And then finally, the students who organized a blood drive for Memorial Blood Center undertook an extensive project for the agency. Okay, we've been through the models. How are you serving the community in your service learning experience? Again, remember, sometimes there may be crossover, so if you think 2 fit, that's probably okay. Okay, so now there are 2 different classroom forms. When you participate in service learning, you may be doing a student-directed experience where you are the primary contact person with the agency, or a whole class experience where your instructor is the primary contact person. In a student-directed experience, an instructor may require service learning as part of the class, but the student, or a small student group, is responsible for contacting the agency to set up the service learning experience. In a whole class project, the instructor works with a community partner and the class to determine an appropriate service experience that is the primary contact between the agency and the class. So, which of these service opportunities is which? Again, I'll give you a couple minutes to think about it. Well, a couple seconds. Even though I can't see you, I bet you got them right. Good job. Nice work. Okay, so how about you? What form of service learning is your experience? Will your project be with the entire class participating in one major service activity? Or will you be in a small group forming, will you and or a small group be forming independent experiences with the community partner? Take a second to consider. Okay, so no matter what, in all the different forms and types, there's tons of different forms in service learning, but one thing remains the same. And that's that in order for service learning to be effective, the service learning experience must be meaningful, must connect to your academic content, and must lead to a deeper understanding of the course and the community. To help do all of these things, your instructor will form assignments that align with your learning objectives and provide you with the opportunity to reflect on your service experience and its relationship to course material. So, it's pretty clear that service learning takes some work. The question is, why bother? Here's why. Studies have shown that even when controlling for all the variables that are listed on this slide, which are a lot, students performed better in school, had a greater sense of community, and gained competence in the important soft skills that help people get and receive promotions in jobs. So academic outcomes, civic responsibility, and life skills are all major categories that improve if you do service learning. And if that isn't enough for you to convince you, you might just live longer. Because studies show that individuals who volunteered had lower mortality rates than those who did not. Okay, so I'm thinking you might be convinced, but you might want to know now how it works. Here's how. Here are the steps. Step 1 is to determine the type of service learning experience. If it's a whole class service learning experience, your instructor will be the primary organizer, so you'll probably not need to contact the agency directly. If it's a student-directed, your instructor will determine the learning goal of your service learning experience and decide on appropriate partners, but you will be responsible for contacting the community partner agency. So you might need to see the email template and phone call tips and scripts. Step 2 is to start early. No matter if it's a whole class service experience or a student-directed experience, you want to make sure you stay on top of your assignments and meet all deadlines. For student-directed experiences, this means contacting the community partner within the first 2 weeks of receiving the assignment. So, then, whether you're working at a specific site or doing a project with the class, professionalism is the key to success. Your service learning experience can build your professional network and your resume. Some of the most important qualities of professionalism include on-time arrival, preparation, and work ethic, and a positive attitude. So, here are some tips. If you are ill and cannot attend class or go to your service learning site, be sure to inform your instructor or community partner as soon as possible by phone and or email. 2. Make sure to come prepared with all required materials. This shows that you're interested and that you're accountable, both of which are highly prized in the workplace and can get you a job. And finally, bring a positive attitude. When asked what mattered most when hiring entry-level positions, managers said positive attitude was second only to reliability in importance. Your site and your instructor are 2 potential references and resources when you head into the workplace. Be sure to impress them with your positive attitude. Also, you need to communicate. If you ever have issues during your service learning experience, please do not hesitate to reach out to your resources. These resources include your instructor, your community partner, and Inver Hills Community College's Service Learning Department, aka me. So please feel free to contact me if you ever have any trouble, or contact your instructor or the community partner if you're struggling. If we don't know that you're experiencing any issues, such as contacting the community partner, or working at the site, or working in your small groups during a project, or understanding the material presented in class, we won't be able to assist you in making this service learning experience successful, and we want to. And then, when it's all over, the last step is to reflect and celebrate. This experience is an experience that will deepen your learning and can just make you feel good. So take the time to reflect not only on how this relates to the coursework, but what you personally gained from the experience. This may be something that you might not have even expected. And then, of course, like I said, celebrate. Celebrate by sharing your growth and accomplishments with your site, your class, your friends, your family, whoever. And finally, remember, you are at the center of service learning, and all of us, your instructor, the community partner, and the service learning department are here to help. And we want this experience to be rewarding and fun. Please let us know if there's anything that we can do. Well, that's a wrap. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation. And oh, by the way, that's me again, Katie. I'm bridging service and learning into service learning. Pretty great, right? Well, it was until I didn't get up. Have a great semester, everyone. Bye.